Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime, and we have had some recent success with tipsters who've been calling in to share information. We want to say thank you to them first of all.
That's right, and of course we do have some more cases that we could use some help with, identifying folks as well as finding out who might have committed some of these local crimes, and as always we've got some wanted fugitives that law enforcement is trying to locate. We're going to start out with our first case, and it's from Walton County. The Walton County Sheriff's Office is trying to locate a vehicle and a motorcycle that were stolen during a burglary that occurred at a home on Masters Court in Santa Rosa Beach sometime between May 26th and May 31st. Now, it's a 2011 white Cadillac Escalade, four-door SUV, had a Tennessee tag of 665M0, similar to the one you see pictured here. And also stolen was a 2006 red Harley-Davidson Softail Slim, also with Tennessee tag. Several other items were also taken from the residence as well at the time that the vehicles disappeared. So anybody with information about those two vehicles or that burglary, give us a call, 863-TIP. Remember, it's 100% anonymous.
And we've got another burglary, but this one's on Okaloosa Island. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is trying to identify these two burglars that broke into the Gulf restaurant on Marler Avenue, and they stole thousands of dollars worth of liquor back on May 7th. Anyone with information on that, of course, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously, 863-TIPS, emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com. And remember, you can always submit a tip via the P3 mobile app.
And the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is looking for the public's assistance in trying to identify a man who battered a woman in the parking lot of Santa Rosa Mall during an attempted carjacking back on April 7th. Now, on May 23rd, investigators worked with the victim to create a sketch of the suspect, and you can see that there. So they're now seeking the public's assistance in attempting to identify him. The victim stated he is about 5'9" tall, lost his shirt during the struggle, and she noticed multiple freckles or liver spots on his arms and back, as well as the back of his head, and she believes he may have been of Irish descent.
Yep, that's a scary situation, and all the details are available on the Sheriff's Office website on Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you need that. Meantime, over in Walton County, Sheriff Michael Atkinson is trying to locate a 2007 white Chevy Trailblazer, similar to the one you see here in the picture. It was stolen during a burglary that took place at Walton County offices on Highway 90 West in Defuniak Springs, and that was back between May 21st and 23rd. The Blazer has a tag number COUN240523, and it's also got a Walton County logo on the driver and passenger doors with BCC 5841. During this burglary, an iPad, a cell phone, Logitech Bluetooth speakers, and the keys were all taken. So any information on that would be appreciated by the Walton County SO.
And the Division of Investigative and Forensic Services Bureau of Fire and Arson is attempting to locate the owner or driver of the vehicle that you see in this picture, reference a vehicle fire that occurred in Destin. This was back in November of last year. A box truck, which was parked at Destin United Methodist Church there on Beach Drive, was intentionally set on fire, and they are trying to find out who owns that vehicle or who may have been driving it, because it was in the area at the time this fire was set.
Okay, and next up, Crestview PD trying to identify this person. This is a gas station burglar who broke into the Florida gas station back on March 5th around 3:30 in the morning. If he looks familiar to you, you know where to call or how to get in touch with us. And remember, you can earn a cash reward and you can stay anonymous.
And we do have a lot of cases each month that we feature that we're actually looking for information, but we do want to tell you about one in which we found a burglar pretty quickly, thanks to not only a Crime Stoppers tip, but a pretty alert Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputy. And you may have remembered back in May, late May, we had a rash of business burglaries in which the front doors were being shattered, forced entry into the businesses. We had some good video and photos of the individual, and we put them on Crime Stoppers, and probably within 15 minutes of posting him to our social media and websites, we had a tip that identified him. And luckily, one of our alert deputies happened to see him in Mary Esther just a few days later, and they ended up making an arrest, and it cleared several burglaries, not only for the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, but some that occurred in other jurisdictions as well.
We were actually calling him the busy burglar because he was hitting somewhere just about every night.
Every night.
He was on a roll, so glad to have him off the streets. Next up, Nicole, we've got something about that big-time undercover investigation.
We do. An undercover investigation dubbed Operation Shady Lane resulted in at least 36 arrest warrants and the seizure of nearly $120,000 worth of primarily heroin, along with some cocaine.
Yeah, and this was all about targeting a heroin drug trafficking organization that was working in Okaloosa County. And it actually started back in February 2016. That was a partnership between the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office and what's called the Northwest Florida HIDTA, which is this is the acronym, High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force.
The reason we wanted to make sure you all were here and know about this operation is because of how heroin's impacted our community and how it's impacted Florida and how it's impacted the U.S. If in 2012 we prescribed more OxyContin in the state of Florida than the other 49 states combined, that says a lot about the pain management clinics and the like that have occurred. Our state government, the Attorney General and the like, addressed that issue. But those users and those addicts did not go away when we closed down those pain management clinics and pill mills. What has happened is heroin's filled that void, not just in Florida, but across the country. And we have to do something because it's not a victimless crime. We were one of the first agencies in Florida to use Narcan to try to address some of the overdoses. 2011, we had 0 heroin cases in Okaloosa County. And in 2012, we had 1. And in 2013, we had 11. In 2014, we had 31. 2015, we had 64. 2016, we had 137. And we have 77 to date in the first 5 months of this year. So we're on another record-breaking year for heroin cases.
Anytime we can stop someone from trafficking drugs in our communities, it's a win for us. It's a win for law enforcement, but it's a win for the community as well. In the Pensacola resident office, which Okaloosa County has a task force officer that sits in, a growing number of our cases involve heroin. In fact, nationwide, a growing number of DEA cases involve heroin. It's considered our #1 threat nationwide.
Now, in addition to the drugs, investigators also seized a sawed-off shotgun and other weapons, 500 tablets of prescription pills, and more than $25,000 in cash.
That was an intense operation and a very successful operation. All the details on
Yes, it
that
was.
on the Sheriff's Office website as well, if you want them. Next up, we're going to get down to our list of fugitives, and first on that list is Joshua Lee Hadaway. He's 23 years old, and Hadaway's wanted for robbery, kidnapping or false imprisonment, aggravated assault, battery, and theft, last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach.
Next up is 32-year-old Juan Demetrius Allen, who's wanted for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, sale of controlled substance, possession of narcotics, and drug paraphernalia, last known to live over on Olympia Court in Fort Walton Beach.
And you know, law enforcement's always working to try and keep tabs on sexual offenders and predators in the area. Well, this guy, Eric Ray Weston, is wanted for failure to register as a sexual offender, and his last known address was in Defuniak Springs.
And deputies are still looking for Keon Kenneth Cooper, who's 32, and he's wanted for failure to appear for aggravated assault, child abuse, possession of a firearm or ammo by a convicted felon, battery on a law enforcement officer, trafficking cocaine, and possession of drug paraphernalia, last known to live on Dunwoody Place in Fort Walton Beach.
And another individual who didn't show up in court is Jeffrey Alexander Turner. He's wanted for failure to appear on charges of burglary, fraud, and criminal mischief.
And the Walton County Sheriff's Office is looking for Chad Alford, and he's wanted for aggravated assault and causing cruel death, pain, or suffering to an animal, last known to live in Niceville.
I hope they find him. Also, 38-year-old Michael Lee Folsom's wanted for possession of a controlled substance and possession of narcotics equipment. Last known address was on Schaffner Avenue in Crestview.
46-year-old Dennis Frederick Taylor Jr. is wanted for failure to appear for fraud, providing false statement to obtain unemployment compensation, last known to live on Brook Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Now, we don't have a photo on this next individual. It's Adam Moshier. He's wanted for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia. Last known address, Bonita Avenue, that is, in Fort Walton Beach.
And William Brian Harnish, who was last known to live over in Freeport, he is wanted for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia.
We're also hoping that you can help us track down Todd Eric Logan. Logan's wanted for uttering a forged banknote.
And 54-year-old Antonio Robinson, who was last known to live on Bayou Drive in Fort Walton Beach, he's wanted for violation of probation for driving while license suspended or revoked, possession of cocaine, unauthorized law practice, and grand theft.
And a relative youngster up next, Leanne Summer Lawson's only 19, but she's wanted for violating probation on a charge of possession of cocaine. Her last known address was Seibert Avenue in Destin.
And last on our first list is 31-year-old Lucas Lorenzo Williams, he's wanted for armed robbery that occurred over on October of 2016 in Defuniak Springs. So the Walton County Sheriff's Office is trying to locate him.
And shifting gears a little bit, every year during Police Week, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office hosts a SWAT competition, and it's always a good one, and it's in memory of one of the OCSO's fallen deputies. That's Deputy Tony Forgione, of course, and competitors at this event get a chance to really show off their skills and see if they can take home the top award. Let's take a look at that. SWAT teams from across Florida turned out for the OCSO-sponsored Tony Forgione Memorial SWAT Competition. And Sergeant Bill Gerard, who helped organize portions of the event, didn't make it easy on them. In the hostage rescue segment, the first challenge is to find your hidden ammo, but it doesn't end there.
And then once they arm their weapons, they're given a set of instructions from the ammo can to go and locate the meth lab via a trailhead. So they take the trail. It's kind of an urban environment, so they're having to go down, find 5 targets and engage those targets at least 2 rounds apiece. And then once they've successfully eliminated those targets, they actually open up an ammo can and they're given the location of where the hostage is. And so there's about a 100-meter run. They go to where they find the hostage, who's chained to a tree, and the padlock on it has a key which is across Lake Randall. And so the SWAT team has to actually grab a Zodiac boat. They have to enter the water there, cross the lake, find the key that's got a orange signal flag across the lake, bring the key back, free the hostage, and then get the hostage to the evacuation point, which is right here at the very end of the course. In total, it's probably about 440 yards. And our average times are anywhere from 12 minutes so far to 15 minutes.
Explotrain donated items to make sure there were flashbangs and simulated gunfire and the like to keep competitors on their toes. There was plenty of running, lifting, and lugging, as well as a finale of dodgeball with the gas masks intact. Whether you take home a trophy or not, organizers of this competition call it a win-win. You can not only remember and honor fallen OCSO deputy and SWAT team member Tony Forgione, but also raise money for Northwest Florida cops or concerns of police survivors, helping the families of law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty.
And congratulations to the Tallahassee Police Department, which took first place. Second place went to Santa Rosa CERT, and third place went to the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. We had a really fun time out there, and to top it all off at the very end, we did a little kickball with some gas masks on, and it was a lot of fun to watch, and they were quite the competitors in that as well.
And we were joking with them, at least it wasn't hot, because it felt like it was 95 degrees with 100% humidity, but they were good sports about it because they're used to working in tough conditions.
Yes, they are.
We're going to move on now to our second list of wanted fugitives, and let's see what we've got at the top of this list.
First up is 32-year-old Timothy James Howard. He's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer in recovery of a stolen property, and failure to appear for fraud, last known to live on Bear Head Road up in Defuniak Springs.
Justin Ralph Diaz is wanted for possession of a controlled substance as well as illegal use of two-way communication devices to facilitate a felony.
And deputies are still searching for 57-year-old Stephen Sherman, and he's wanted for extortion or threats, last known to live on Vinings Way in Destin.
Take a look at Lennon Wayne Harris. Harris is wanted for VOP and FTA for the original charge of burglary.
The Walton County Sheriff's Office is looking for Pamela Shute for trafficking in controlled substance, possession of a controlled substance by misrepresentation, fraud, forgery, or deception, last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach.
And just to let people know if they're wondering about those acronyms, VOP, violation of probation, FTA is failure to appear. You see and hear a lot of that in these fugitives. Margie Elaine Silcox is wanted for VOP on aggravated battery, aggravated assault, and introducing contraband into a detention facility charges. Her last known address was in Crestview.
Edward Lamont Fountain is wanted for failure to appear for carrying a concealed weapon, possession of a weapon ammo by a convicted felon, possession of a controlled substance and narcotics equipment, and also driving while license suspended or revoked. Last known to live on Wilson Street in Crestview.
I got another one for VOP on possession of weapon and ammo by a convicted felon, and that is Nicholas Ronald Weeks, last known to live in Defuniak Springs. So give us a call if you know where to find Weeks.
35-year-old Willie Maurice Floyd is wanted for coordinating in a retail theft over $3,000 and possession of anti-shoplifting control device.
I think this is a new face on our show. Seamus Mason Cotner Marshall, 22 years old, wanted for violating probation for charges of battery and fraud.
But a familiar face to the show is 48-year-old George Monroe Emmerich II. He's wanted by the Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
The next person on our list was known to live in Niceville, and she's 27-year-old Tamara Acevedo, wanted for failure to appear on possession of a controlled substance charges, possession of narcotics equipment, as well as fraud.
And Ivan Baramov, who was last known to live on Plough Avenue in Shalimar, is wanted for violation of probation for grand theft.
This next individual is wanted by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department. It's David Brent Evans, and the charge they're looking for him on is credit card theft and fraudulent use of a credit card. Last known address in Freeport in Walton County.
And we're still trying to find Alexis Wilmer Mondragon. He's wanted for sexual battery, sex offense against a child, and lewd and lascivious molestation. Last known to live on Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach. Would really like some information about where he might be hiding.
Certainly. And we want to say big congratulations to OCSO Deputy Cutler Peterson, who was officially welcomed into the agency's K-9 unit in May.
And Deputy Peterson and K-9 Miro are a dual-purpose team, meaning they're trained and certified in the disciplines of narcotics detection and K-9 patrol work, including locating, hiding suspects, lost persons, evidence, and apprehension. And now Deputy Peterson and Miro joined other OCSO K-9 team members recently to do a demonstration for human resources personnel from the Okaloosa County School District.
And you know, letting the public get to see these dogs up close is a way to showcase the value of the K-9 team to the law enforcement mission. How many of these type of demos do you guys do a year, do you think?
Wow. I would say probably 40 to 50 demos a year for all different organizations and groups and students. Pretty much if you want to see a demo, we're going to do it for you.
Right turn.
One of the phases of our USPCA obedience session that's required for us to be certified to work our dogs. What this is called is this is heeling control. The dog has to stay by you through 3 different legs. Make a good turn there and not venture away from you. The dog is in perfect position here, right at the handler's legs. Good turn, he's focused on the handler. He should be coming to a finish here. The dog has to come to a sit as a finish.
So you did a good job there.
You did a very good job. This next phase is it's called distance control. The dog has to sit at a distance of usually 50 feet to show that he's comfortable being away from his handler, and then listen to his handler in a series of voice and hand commands. He's got to sit by hand, down by hand, sit by voice, and down by voice, and then come back to the handler when called. He is one of our brand new dogs. He was just certified back in April.
Nice! Oh, that's so good!
And this is K-9 Titan with his handler, Deputy Zach Putnam.
New as well, relatively.
He's relatively new. He's been on the road for about a year now. This would be me and my new one, K-9 Rico. He is also brand new, just certified back in April.
He gets all the grade. I got to do this when I was at. I'm going to give you a head start.
This is one of our phases of bite work. The dog has to be sent, apprehend the guy. See a pretty good apprehension here. He stays on. Decoy's unable to get up, so that's what we want. We want to incapacitate the bad guy where he can't get up. The dog's supposed to stay on until he's called off by the handler, which he does a good job of here. This is USPCA agility. This is another area that's required for our certification. We have to surmount a series of obstacles, a low crawl, a broad jump, an A-frame, a catwalk, and hurdles. Always a crowd favorite. That's the A-frame. Once he surmounts the obstacle, he's got to come back to the handler to finish. This is our broad jump. He has to clear 6 feet without touching either side and then come back. This is the catwalk. He's got to climb this ladder, which is very difficult for dogs to do. And once he's up on the top platform, he has to stop and stay until called by his handler on the other side. very time consuming in teaching this, as none of the dogs like to climb the ladder. It's not natural to them. This is a relatively new dog as well. This is Canine Nico. He was just certified the first of the year. And this, of course, is our Hurdles. And as you can see, he really loves his handler, Deputy Derek York. And one of the big things we look for, and you can see here when we get these dogs, is we like social dogs, because we want them to be able to interact with people and not have to worry about them biting somebody. So we've done a really good job in the selection process, and all of our dogs right now are social dogs.
Yes, I never met a dog I didn't.
Everybody loves the canines, obviously, including
Always.
us. Okay, next up we want to give some tips out because there was a situation recently that was a little bit bizarre. A lady called up a Craigslist ad to find a repairman for her car after it wasn't working out at the Destin Walmart. The guy came out named Kevin, that's about all they had on him, Kevin and a phone number, and ended up getting into an argument. Seemed like he didn't really know what he was doing and actually ended up disabling the car, clipping all the visible wires. I don't know what the damage total was on that, but she went from having a car with some problems to a car that wouldn't run at all and probably is going to take thousands of dollars to fix. The sheriff's office is investigating to try and track down Kevin, but just wanted to let people know from a crime prevention standpoint that you need to be really careful about who you hire off Craigslist and making sure you get reputable, knowledgeable people.
And we also have some tips for avoiding mail theft from your mailbox. The sheriff's office just recently charged a Destin resident with numerous counts of forging checks that are believed to have been stolen from folks' mailboxes. He then altered the checks in order to gain access to some cash. Now, OCSO crime prevention specialist Ashley Bailey says there are steps you can take to try to keep your mail from falling into the wrong hands and to protect you from identity theft. And the first one is actually pretty simple. Do not place outgoing mail in your mailbox and raise the flag. Secondly, keep from becoming a red flag victim. Do not put checks or mail that contain your personal identifying information into an unlocked box. Instead, drop your mail off at a local post office. Use automated payment plans instead of mailing out checks to businesses. Have paychecks, benefit, and pension checks direct deposited to your account. And ask your bank or credit union to receive your box of new checks rather than have them mailed to your home. And of course, don't carry your checkbook in public. Carry only the checks you need. So you can call the credit card offer opt-out line to reduce the number of credit card solicitations you receive. And you can see there is the website and the phone number if you would like to do that as well.
And we wanted to share something that we just thought was kind of clever on a deputy's part at the sheriff's office recently. There was someone who had reported that their iPhone had been stolen from someone, and when the deputy went there, he tried to contact the iPhone, and no one would answer. So then he FaceTimed the number, and the person who ended up being the suspect answered the FaceTime, and the deputy quickly took a screenshot of that person, compared that picture to the driver's license of the suspect, got a warrant, and the person was arrested for theft after stealing the iPhone and then FaceTiming with the deputy, not knowing who was on the other end of the line. We thought that was a little bit clever on the deputy's part to think that up.
Yep. And next up, we do have some more wanted folks that law enforcement are hoping maybe you can help us find. First up is Brittany Linnell Sanders. She's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for create, use, or possess counterfeit credit cards with intent to use counterfeit information.
Also looking for information on where to locate Georgia Emily Murray. She's 63 years old, and she's wanted by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for leaving the scene of a traffic crash with injuries, as well as driving with a license that's suspended or revoked. Murray's last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
And Walton County deputies are still searching for Joshua James Pickard. He's wanted for violation of probation for possession with intent to sell, manufacture, or deliver a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Last known to live up into Puniac Springs.
And you can earn a cash reward if you can provide information leading to the arrest of Juan Ramon Marquez, wanted by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for trafficking in stolen property. Marquez's last known address was on Jonquil Avenue in Fort Walton.
And another new face to this month's show is 50-year-old Kenneth Edward Bunkley. He's wanted for failure to appear for 2 counts of fleeing and eluding police, last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach.
Roderick James Rutterson Jr. is wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school and failure to appear on a charge of driving with a license that's suspended or revoked. Rutterson's last known address was on Mooney Road in Fort Walton.
And we'd certainly like to find this guy. He's a longtime member of the show, 41-year-old Mark Robert Fitzgerald. He's wanted by both Walton County and Okaloosa County for grand theft and contracting without a license, last known to live in Santa Rosa Beach.
And Walton County is also looking for Edward J. Stanley for failure to appear on multiple counts of uttering a forged instrument and grand theft.
And 29-year-old Traywan Blunt is wanted for violation of probation for 2 counts of dealing in stolen property, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach.
Hoping to track down Charles Keith Wallace. Wallace is wanted for possession of a controlled substance without a prescription.
And Everett Hairston is being sought by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for grand theft auto.
Eric Arsenault is 51 years old. He's wanted for VOP on an original charge of grand theft auto. Last known address, Walton County.
And Fort Walton Beach police are searching for 46-year-old John Henry Bonner. He's wanted for grand theft and a violation of Pawnbrokers Act, also non-payment of child support.
And we've been profiling this next guy for a long time. Daniel Wesley Arthur. He's out there somewhere, wanted for felony neglect of an elderly or disabled person without causing great bodily harm, possession of a controlled substance, and theft, last known to live in Fort Walton Beach. Hoping to track him down.
Yep, and 29-year-old Samuel Edward Thomas III is wanted for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft, last known to live in Shalimar.
And starting to wind down here, we've got Tiffany Michelle Bennett, wanted for violation of probation on a charge of possession of a controlled substance.
And some good news, Christopher Lloyd Kelly has been located since our last show.
But still looking for James Anthony Williams. He's 45 and he's wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office. The charges they're looking for him on are VOP on possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
And last but certainly not least is Timothy Dwayne Hammonds, and he's wanted for failure to appear for 3 counts of possession of cocaine and possession of narcotics equipment, last known to live in Navarre.
And all of these are valid as of today's taping date, which is June 12th. Is that right?
That is
We got our
correct.
date right. So those are all valid as of June 12th. And we also want to put a big shout out to the Crestview Walmart and the Niceville Walmart, because they just recently installed some of the crime fighting kiosks. They're like electronic message boards that the Sheriff's Office had, and they've put those up at the entries, and that's really going to help with the crime fighting efforts, because Crime Stoppers is one of the featured boards that is on that machine.
Yep, you're going to see lots of updated wanted folks, and of course attempt to identify. So a lot of things that you see that we profile here on the show you will see on there, but keep an eye. They'll change weekly as often as we can change them. So, and of course, if you know anybody that's on the boards or have any information, you can always contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, 100% anonymous, 863-TIPS. Of course, we have the EmeraldCoastCrimeStoppers.com, and we also have the P3 mobile tips.
That's right, and you can earn a cash reward of up to $3,000 for information that leads to finding some of these fugitives, especially those high-profile folks that you're going to see on those kiosks. So we want to thank them, and we also want to thank you for watching, and we will see you next time for Okaloosa Eye on Crime.